Let me now give you some strategies for more efficiently and effectively testing your Director projects. First, testing in the Director authoring environment is different from testing in the Director projector and Shockwave player environments for online content. The Preview in Browser command demonstrates the true behavior of the movie in the Shockwave environment, so if you're planning to create web content, you'll want to use the Preview in Browser command quite frequently. For example, this movie here has Movie in a Window scripts built into it. This feature is not supported in the Shockwave environment, and you won't find out unless you do a File Preview in Browser. Save the file. This is going to open up Internet Explorer. Let's go ahead and approve the ActiveX content. Click Yes here, but it's going to give me an error. It says here, in fact, that this movie contains a new Shockwave format movie that the current Shockwave control cannot handle. Would you like to download newer version? It's actually giving me an error saying that I need extra software, but it's just not going to function correctly in the Shockwave environment. So the point is, you won't know this until you actually test the movie back here by doing File, Preview in Browser. My second tip is, if you do encounter a problem, try to isolate the problem in a new Director file that incorporates only the problem feature or item. Then you'll want to make a list of the minimum steps that are required to reproduce the problem in a new file. This process will usually reveal the source of the problem and whether the problem is limited to one feature or if it's caused by the interaction of two or more features in your movie. This is particularly important once you get complicated movies with a lot of interaction between elements. Isolate that element. Try to localize the problem so you can come up with a solution. One way to do this is try to recreate the problem with different media. Sometimes the sources of a problem are within the specific media that you used in your movie. Maybe it's a video file that isn't supported in Director, or a bitmap file like a TIFF image that it's not supported. Also, try to recreate the problem on a different computer. This can help isolate problems with hardware configurations or with the Director installation on a specific computer. If the problem exists only when the movie is posted to a server, determine whether the problem exists on only one server or on all servers. Occasionally, the server's MIME types might need to be edited to include MIME types for Director. For more information on this topic, see Director Tech Note 16509, Configuring Your Server for Shockwave. You can also find a reference to that in the Director Help. Another valuable tip is to do the quick, simple tests first. If you have no audio coming out of your computer, check your speakers and your volume control first before going in and digging into your lingo scripts. Also, only test for one thing at a time. You cannot really successfully locate problems if you're testing for more than one thing at a time. If you've got video problems as well as audio playback problems, focus on the audio playback problems first, since it's usually easier to resolve these problems, and you want to focus on only one thing at a time. And my last tip is probably the most useful but the most difficult for most of my students to follow, and that is punt. If you're not a fan of American football, that means give up and try again. This could mean deleting the cast member, deleting the script. In extreme cases, it could mean deleting the entire Director file and starting over. Oftentimes, especially when you're beginning, you'll spend much more time trying to figure out why Director is doing what it's doing than just to delete, start over, try it again, and oftentimes you'll start up on the right path and you'll avoid the problem the second time you run through the implementation. So I know that giving up sometimes hurts your pride and ego, but in many cases it's simply the best thing to do. You might spend 3 or 4 hours trying to figure out what's causing the problem, and then another 3 or 4 hours fixing the problem, rather than just spending 1 hour redoing everything over again. In the end, this tip just saved you about 4 or 5 hours of work. It's always okay to say, you know what, I really don't know what the problem is, I'm just going to start over again. If James can do it with all his years of teaching and working with Director, then I can do it too without feeling ashamed, and without really feeling that bad. Just give up, start over again, and you'll probably be better off in the long run. Now let me move on to the next movie, packaging movies for distribution. When you finish authoring your director movies, you have a choice of several ways to prepare it for distribution. Let me review some of your options at this stage in your director authoring work.